pay range would be?
It's my understanding that council sets salary pay range. So my question would be to you, what formula did you use to get to the 3,000?
That's what was left in the budget for the year 2018, and that's what, I didn't want Ms. Megan to have to amend the budget, so that's what was paid.
So that was left in the budget under what?
Administrative fees.
Okay. I really don't even want to go down this road. I made a call down to KLC, and I left it as if I am a city mayor. This is my exact statement to Chris Johnson. If I'm a city mayor of a city in the state of Kentucky, can I draw an additional salary on top of my pay for mayor for the additional duties of an ABC administrator? There's more, but that's really not all that. His answer to me was, after consultation with other staffers here at KLC, I can tell you KRS 83A.070 subsection 1 states that the compensation for elected city officers shall not be changed during the officer's term of office. KLC has been consistent in relaying this information for years as to an increase or decrease, such as an elected city official wishing to refuse pay for their position as city elected official, which we have also said is not an option. Conversations that KLC has had with the mayor and former city attorney were consistent with the law, with what the law states. Then I sent another question, and I didn't include that one. I asked Chris Johnson if he has had any conversations with the city mayor, the city attorney, or any prior city attorneys. I got a letter back from Morgan Patterson. Skip the first paragraph. She states, I had a passing conversation with the mayor at the COA in Lexington that took place in January 16 through 18, and confirmed that she could be the ABC administrator, but we did not discuss a salary. Are you familiar with what she's talking about?
There were several conversations in regards to the council and the KLC training.
Okay. This will close the scope down a little bit farther to get to my point. On April 10th, 2019, I had a telephone conversation with then city attorney, Mr. Pete Whaley. We discussed the issue of whether the mayor can be the ABC administrator and receive a separate salary for holding the second position. I explained that under KRS 83.070, there can be no increase or decrease in the elected official's salary during their term. We discussed that mayors can be the ABC administrator, but these would be duties assigned to the mayor and not a separate office with a separate salary. If that were the case, the mayor could take on several city positions and absorb their salaries as well, which would be problematic for the city. If the city wishes to further compensate the office of the mayor for performing his duties of ABC administrator, the council can do so for the next mayoral term. This compensation must be fixed no later than the first Monday of May prior to the election for that term. So, that being said, the way I read it is the $3,000 cannot be taken as a salary by a city mayor.
It's a separate position, Todd, and I did get clarification with Chris Johnson back early on in the year, and he said it's not illegal. It may be problematic, most likely because of what we're dealing with right here in this situation, but he said it was not illegal. It's not a pay raise for the mayor, it's a second position that was passed by law with the previous administration.
I don't read it that way.
Do you agree with this?
No.
You don't read the ordinance that way?
No, I don't. It's a separate position, yes, but not for a mayor because of the state law.
Well, let me chime in here. So Pete and I had an opportunity to talk about this issue. And there was another conversation with the county attorney at the time. And there was a lot of smart people that I looked to try to give me some advice on how to read a statute. I can assure you that we as lawyers make mistakes on how to interpret statutes daily. But the truth is that there is zero, from what we can tell, any decisions, any interpretation of the statute at large. We all want to do the right thing. The question is if someone has a difference in opinion, and we all do, Pete and I read it differently, but anyone that looks at the statute may read it. We don't disagree that there's ambiguity. The question is, which I think is interesting, is how does a city pass an ordinance knowing that the ABC administrator is the mayor and the subsequent term fix a compensation and then the council here approves it, knowing that the ordinance is on the books. I mean, I am hard pressed to tell anyone that you should violate your own ordinances that are there. It's a concern. And the bigger concern that I have when you look at it is, what do? You pick and choose between which ordinances you're going to follow, which ones you're not. That being said, the appropriate remedy may be to give a legal opinion from someone that has a heck of a lot more credence than us, and that's a judge. So there is the possibility that we could together, jointly, it's not adversarial, it's a question of law, ask a judge through a declaratory action to tell us how to interpret the statute. And then we'll have an answer once and for all. I think that's the way that, please share it anytime.
Just waiting for you.
And I think Macon is a prudent approach for the city, rather than casting aspersions and accusing people of doing things unethical. Unethical is how you look at it. And ethics are unfortunately interpreted based upon your opinion. In this case, there's an ordinance directing that salaries shall be paid. It doesn't say it's arbitrary, it doesn't say you may. So the question we have is how do we handle it? I've read it multiple times. And the concern that I have is that if we get to a situation where we in turn decide on how we're going to pick and choose ordinances, I think it's a problem. So.
Yeah, I agree with what Alex said. We did have a conversation, fortunately, Alex, myself, and Stephen Bates happened to be in the same meeting last week. And then after, when everyone else was present, actually outside, we discussed this. I had relayed that it was my understanding that I had passed that along to KLC back in April, apparently April 10th, I didn't know the exact date, and said that no, that's not permitted. I remember the discussion with Morgan Patterson very well, because I frankly was a little surprised. I was kind of expecting the opposite answer, to be frank. There's a case law out there, there's a case that's not exactly on point, but it deals with a somewhat similar position where the prior mayor never got any pay at all for being mayor. But they distinguished that situation from the one that we have before us. We may have a situation where we have an ordinance, and I say may, and this is where it's a question of law, and Alex and I agree on that. We may have a situation where we have an ordinance that's invalid, or at least it's invalid in its execution, the way we've done it, in that it seemed to open the door for, or did open the door for some sort of compensation. Compensation was never set. I believe the ordinance said that it would be set by council at some point. Well, council never did set it, as we know. We had a lot of discussions on that. So as we sit here, and you're not going to find a statute that says anything other than, or any cases at least that I've found, I don't know if Alex has had time to look or not, that comes anywhere close to this issue other than the one that I referenced. At this point, all I have to go on from a higher up standpoint, is what KLC said. KLC isn't the end-all be-all, certainly, on this issue. There's really two options. The other option, and it might have even gotten referenced in that email, I'm not sure, I think I saw it, that we could go to the AG's office and get an opinion. That would be a fairly painless route to go. The only problem with that is opinions from the AG's office are just that, they're opinions, they're not binding. So if the mayor didn't like the answer, or the council didn't like the answer, then either side could then resort to filing something in circuit court. The discussion that Alex and I had on this issue was, is it worthwhile doing the AG's opinion if we get the sense that we're going to end up in circuit court anyways? Or do we just go ahead and file a declaratory action, lay out, there's no question of fact here, which is a nice one plus we've got it, and we all understand what happened with the ordinances and minutes speak for themselves. So we just shortly file a declaratory action, lay out the facts as they are, and then make the various legal arguments that we make and have Judge Knight render a decision on it. And that's really our two options at this point.
Well, we have clear minutes that say that we did not, that we were going to review the salary. We have that clearly in our minutes, and that we were going to decide on it at a future date. And we have discussed that several times. The council continued to almost unanimously agree not to pay that salary because of what we had been told by the KLC that it was not appropriate to pay. And all the way up to the meeting before, she actually took the salary. We had been saying the same thing and even tabled the salary discussion. Even in light of that, knowing how this council felt, is assigned to appropriate money, 3 days before the end of the fiscal year, she wrote herself a check. And then, when we got our, we haven't been getting our information prior to the meeting so that we can look over financial statements or minutes or anything. And sure enough, we walked right in here the 3rd of July and had our stack of stuff here to look at. And so you're rushing through and looking at things. And we passed. And I want to apologize to the citizens of Crittenden that I voted to pass that financial statement, to agree to that financial statement, and I did not see that check on me. And afterwards, when I found out that had happened, and it had been, we were deceived, it was slipped in on the bottom of it, it was unethical, immoral, illegal, I believe illegal, and I just feel like that it needs to be pursued. It's a misappropriation of funds, and I just don't see any reason for the mayor to do that. And Joe, I even remember Joe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe said, Megan, is there anything unusual on this financial statement? She said, no, just the usual. Do you remember that, Joe?
Exactly.
And so we were completely misled. Yes, we were.
That was not,
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly
No.
what happened.
I was advised by the attorney what to do in that situation.
So I'm going to advise at this point, I mean, if there's a motion to be made to go to executive session to determine how the council wants to proceed, and otherwise, nothing productive is going to come out of accusing someone potentially of some criminal activity.
It's not
So-
accusing, it's the truth.
So-
It's exactly what happened.
So if there's a motion,
Hold on, so what's the next step to get, we'd all like to get this off our plate. What's the
I was very careful, and I've heard accusations thrown up like by Alex. I was very careful in what I wrote down, what I asked. I did not make any accusations. I'm basically doing a fact finding to where I can see where you got it. I'm gonna assume Alex gave the mayor the advice. Is that safe to assume?
The advice that I,
When she says she got advice, I'm assuming it came from
the advice that I gave, you'll get anyone, is you follow your own ordinances. Period, exclamation. There's an ordinance that was passed by the previous administration, and then an appointment made by this council, putting her in that position.
okay.
That's the advice I gave.
And in a city such as Crittenden, who sets the salaries?
Salary ranges aren't been set by ordinance.
Who sets the budget?
The budget is approved by council,
Right,
which has already been approved,
right.
which has already been line item by the previous
It was,
administration.
no, it was not line item by the previous administration.
I think there's a difference in opinion.
Well, yeah, because we talked to the previous administration and they said it was not in there.
I think that may
You
be-
shake your head, no, I was part of the previous council, we did not.
Well, the
Allocate
ordinance
mon-
should have wrote that way.
There was no money put in the budget for an ABC administrator. Okay, Alex, speak up so I can hear you too if you're addressing about me. I was a previous council member and we did not allocate money for an ABC administrator. There was no line item.
And we've got
Now,
people,
see,
Bang that gavel
now,
again.
see,
we've got people in the community.
Make you
now what are
happy?
you gonna do, magistrate, make a fool of yourself again?
You're doing a great job of that.
No,
We've got people in the community asking why money is being spent, that there has been $75,000 to $100,000 extra money spent in this first 6 months of this year. And why are we letting that happen?
you tell me where that money is. Since you wrote the council proposal, you tell me where the money went.
It does seem.
That's not true. That's that's not true.
There does seem.
And I've been fighting a battle since day one, January 1, with these personalities.
We've added 2 new positions. We bought carpet, or flooring in here that was not approved prior to it being.
That was
purchased.
passed.
Yeah, we passed it because we didn't know any better. We didn't
Right.
know that you had a procurement policy in
Did you not
place
get the
for-
paperwork on that?
I got it in May, after you called the KSP and accused me of
Here we
harassing
go.
you when I just asked for
Listen,
documents.
are we here for the city, or are we
We
here for
are here for
ourselves?
the city.
The only thing I was going to interject is, and I may have gotten ahead of myself saying there was no question or fact. I think, I'm not certain whether it was in the budget or not. I'm not saying it wasn't. What I've seen, and maybe I need somebody to explain it to me, and that person may be Megan at some point, that may be one issue we do need to, I think, clarify, because certainly part of this room swears it's in there, part of this room swears it's not. I haven't quite been able to identify the specific line item, but I'm not an accountant either. So I do think that's one area of fact that probably does need to be clarified as we go forward.
I had conversations with the former mayor and the former attorney, and it was their intention not to have that in last year's budget. It's the budget we're working on off of this year at this council. They did not include that according to the mayor and last year's attorney.
And they didn't include the code enforcement officer. People, here's the thing about it, the city, it's changing. Okay, we have a lot of things that hadn't been done in 20 years, including the floor at the firehouse, the floor here. We got millions of dollars in our budget, and I respect Mr. Livingston, but he didn't look out for the people of the city, because, you know, we needed a code enforcement officer, we needed a vehicle for her to drive around and write citations to get this city cleaned up. We need a code enforcement board, and we have one gentleman here that sits on that board. It's a fact that things hadn't been done in 20 years, but now they're being done. You're hearing all this reflect back from it. Yeah, we got a car, we got a floor. I talked with Earlene, that was on that committee with the floor, and she looked at it, and we talked about things like that. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do as mayor?
We don't have a problem with you doing these things, as long as it's transparent. It's when you are being so secretive about things, we don't know what's going on, if you could just be more transparent about it.
We
Give
made
us-
every copy that you've ever requested, and I even paid out my own pocket.
Oh,
for you.
hell, you didn't say that.
Attorneys, how do we get this
Okay,
I'll let you.
So,
let's just stay on.
so the,
Yeah, I think Todd needs to finish with this.
I've got I've just got a timeline, and going by the original ABC ordinance that maybe we need to pull out, is ordinance 249-2016. It states, the mayor will also, now I'm just copy and pasting here. The mayor will also, with the advice and consent of the city council, determine the salary of the ABC administrator. I don't feel that, now granted, it does say the annual salary is between $10,000 and $15,000. I have no argument with that. Here is my argument. And you may agree, you may not agree with my thinking, but I've looked at this for over a week. It's got me so twisted up and aggravated that in North Kentucky, Crittenden is just, everybody is just asking, what in the world is going on in Crittenden? You guys can't get along, this and this and this. I'll grant you, we get 10 people at this table. We're not gonna all agree. We're not gonna see the same thing the same way. But when it's written in black and white, and I'm not accusing, I'm not making anything more than the way I see it. You're picking and choosing pieces of the ordinance and you're using it to your advantage when you know KLC has told you since April you cannot do this. The council sets the money. The mayor runs with the money. I understand that. But when you have an annual salary between $10,000 and $15,000 and you pull $3,000 out of the air just because that's all that was left in the budget before the new budget came in, that's not how you set a salary. If there was $1.98 in there, would you have done the ABC job for
We could have
$1.98?
amended the budget and paid the 10 to 15,000. Now,
No, we wouldn't have, because we were not in agreement with that.
well, then you're in
You already
violation
told-
of the ordinance.
No, we weren't, because the ordinance says that it has to be with consent, and you did not get the council's consent.
I
Did
got
you not
consent of
agree
the
with
attorney.
Joe when he said, and I can't say it, I don't know word for word, but there was some kind of taxation, 5%, 6%? We
That's
were
on
waiting,
point of sales, we hadn't have never addressed yet.
but we were gonna review that.
Right.
Yes.
And you were okay with that then. But now we have a $3,000 salary that came out of what I want to say thin air. Because if we have an ABC administrator, we should have a line for that.
It was in the administrative fees, but let's
But we
let's
did,
decide what we're gonna do here.
We did-
Do you wanna take me to court? Do you wanna file charges with the judge, the Commonwealth attorney? Do you wanna pursue that? Then I asked to pursue that. I don't wanna keep these people waiting here all night, but you have the option to do that. So,
today is my day to find out where you're coming from. I try to give everybody,
I just explained to you, Todd.
I understand, and that's why I'm asking
But
the
it's
questions.
not just
I'm
me
asking.
that you're focusing on. You're focusing on JD's job, you're focusing on Donna's job,
What did I say about?
and you're wanting to micromanage. If you're across the street and you're micromanaging how many days that she comes in, to me, that's stalking.
Really?
So you need to decide what you want to do in that.
Careful.
You be careful.
I have not made an
Because
accusation.
this is
No,
a
no.
circus.
No, I have not made an accusation
I think-
towards you.
I think Pete and I, if I can interrupt you, I think Pete and I both agree something needs to be done. I mean, if the council is hell-bent on getting an opinion, let's do it.
I think, oh, sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. And I think that reasonable minds can agree or disagree. I mean, we want to figure out what's right. And by goodness, I wish that ordinance and the statute were crystal clear, we wouldn't be having this discussion, but it's not, it's opaque. So let's look through it. I mean, am I wrong on that, Pete? Giving us policy on what to do and how to address it.
Yeah, but obviously, we're not gonna reach an agreement, and there's a lot of history here that's making that tougher to reach an agreement. So if it's the, from my perspective, representing council, I would want to know if it's council's inclination to pursue this declaration, deck action, what we usually refer to in circuit court, or how you want to pursue it, and I will act according to your wishes, and then if it's that, then Alex will be involved in that from the other side.
I believe there's also been discussion that, that it is in the mayor and everybody else's best interest that she pay that money back to the city. Is that not correct?
There was, you were involved in a conversation, and if you want to, I was not at that conversation, I was not part of that meeting. And if you want to relay that, you should relay that, but since I was not there, I would rather not be
Well,
involved.
I know that you and
But I did,
Alex discussed it.
we did. But if you want to go ahead and discuss that, but because you were in the original, yes, Alex, I told Alex what I had been told.
And that it was from another, can I speak for you?
You agree with it?
Okay. From the Assistant Commonwealth Attorney's Office, it was said that you were not entitled to that money, and but that maybe you misunderstood, and they wanted to give you the opportunity to pay it back rather than,
I
Charge you.
misunderstood, I was advised.
With all due respect, I mean, if you have a one-sided conversation with just the antagonist as opposed to people who are the one being accused, I mean, they need to hear both sides of the story. And this is a perfect example of a case that should, from a civil perspective, a judge should have every ounce of information to be able to make a determination of the statute that says you can or you can't. I mean, is there any nefarious act on behalf of the mayor to try to abscond with funds of the city? Absolutely, of course not. We all know that. Much as interpretation of statute. So the right, proper course of action is get an opinion from somebody that can make a ruling. Pete and I are just, we can pontificate all we want. The reality is, we don't have the authority to tell you if we're right or wrong. So if the will of the commission, or excuse me, the will of the council is to get an opinion, we'll have to do that through resolution at the next meeting. To give somebody the authority, and I'm assuming that you give him the authority to file an action on behalf. There's an attorney fee provision in his contract that he gave us today, which I didn't see any problems with. But the reality is, the council would have to appropriate funds at $100 an hour to litigate this case.
so I guess it'll cost the city the money to litigate the case, plus paying her the salary that's already been paid. So yeah, I see that.
And the question becomes, what happens if the interpretation of statute is wrong, that it was a permissible allocation? More money is going to be spent to arrive at that answer, but all of which can be done. I'm going to represent the council at large and do what I think is right, and the answer is proposing a question to the court and saying, help us answer. I will tell you, I am not a big advocate of taking an opinion from the Kentucky League of Cities, which is an advocacy group, and using it as a law by any means. They're wrong just like the rest of us. So the only person that's not going to be wrong is a person that holds the title of judge.
And to be the interest of full disclosure, considering how, again, as we said, we thought maybe going to the AG's office probably would be a better way to put it, a waste of time, considering how strong the feelings are in this issue. We go to circuit court, we get a ruling from Judge Knight, and then certainly the losing party would have the option to take to the Court of Appeals. And quite frankly, you guys might make the case law books. From what I can tell and what I'm getting a sense of, this is an issue that, quite frankly, could not necessarily change the law, redefine the law, do something along those lines, and demand it in Frankfurt if the will of everybody involved is to take it that far. So it doesn't necessarily end with Judge Knight. The losing side may very well be motivated enough to take it to the next level.
Well, that's all fine and good, but then that costs the, city of Crittenden,
It does, Jennifer, and that's why I'm pointing it out, so you don't necessarily think that that's the wall. It's,
right.
As far as I'm concerned, the reason I brought this up, like I said, I'm not making accusations. I know the way I read it. I want to see how Alex is reading it, Mayor's reading it, where I can make a conscientious decision of what and where do you go from here.
And I, for the life of me, would like to ask Joe Taylor, when the ordinance was passed, for the contemplation of the ABC being paid a salary, what on earth were they thinking? Well, the reality of the situation is, that's what the council decided to do. And for whatever reason, you follow your ordinances. If you don't, the rule of law is gone. So, I mean, everybody knew that this ordinance was on the books, I assume, presumably, when they started reading it. And it comes back with saying, well, we'll get back to that later, it's just disingenuous. Unfortunately, it happened. I mean, it needed to be addressed, it wasn't addressed, and the mayor, and I've said this before, I'll say it publicly, the mayor could have potentially had a claim against the city if she wasn't paying. It would have cost the city a heck of a lot more in funds.
But just for future reference, if we table whatever, can you just override that and do what you feel needs to be done?
Wait a minute,
But-
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. It wasn't actually tabled. If you watch your video, it wasn't tabled. I rescinded my table, and Arlene made a motion, and the motion was dropped. That's how it went.
That's not the way I remember it,
It's not the
but
way the minutes were written.
like I said, I'm not making an accusation, I'm just trying, and I carefully corrected everything that I said. I have no hard feelings with the mayor. Yeah, we not get along on a day-to-day basis. She sees things one way, I see them the other way, and pretty much neither one of us wants to give an inch either way. She sees it her way, and that's fine. Just on different things, but the camera, you brought up the JD thing. I'm not after JD. I really feel like there should be a job description. It's been 4 months, we should have that by